Hey guys, how's it going? It is my different username here, and today we'll be going back in time, back to the year of 1903, before the Great War was well on its way, and talk about the service rifle that was chosen for the US Army to fight in that war. Here we have the Springfield M1903 bolt-action rifle made out of Lego. So, the Springfield Model 1903 was the American bolt-action rifle designed and manufactured by the Springfield Armory back in 1903. It was soon adopted later by the US Army to become the official service rifle for the nation and was used prominently during the First World War. Its role as a service rifle was eventually replaced, however, in the year 1936 by its successor, the M1 Garand, but still was used heavily by the US Army for World War II, the Korean War, and even the earliest years of the Vietnam War. Now, I have made many Lego bolt-action rifles back in the day, my most famous model being the Lee Enfield, but with this gun, I really wanted to do something different as far as the designing goes, and I wanted to make the gun feel more ergonomic and less blocky, so I attempted to make this possible by adding features like more dynamic dimensions to the gun, like for example, the stock starts off within 4 studs in width and then transitions into the receiver at 5 studs with a more narrow 4 studs on top of that, and then back down into the gun at 4 studs below and with a 3 stud wide piece on top of that. And even with the help of some roof tile pieces above and below the rifle, as well as some upside down techniques here and there, including the sling mounts and this trigger guard, they all work together to help give off a more natural feeling out of the rifle, and it is definitely one of my favorite aspects of the whole gun in general. Other parts of the gun include little miscellaneous details that you would normally never catch on this gun, such as the button that is on the back of the stock that doesn't actually detach the plate, the bayonet slide mount that is seen at the front, as well as the unfurnished wood that is exposed away from the shooter, and even at the handguard there is a handguard ring detach lever that is there just for looks because that doesn't actually work either. The next part to cover I believe has to be the iron sights for the rifle, which, for myself, I'm not very impressed with. The front post sight is really nice and super simple, which I really do like, but then there's the rear sight that, honestly, I'm just not happy with. The rear sights actually mimic the real-life functions of the sights super well, except for the elevation and the wind adjustments. But the sight has normal sights when flipped down, but when flipped up, reveals the range adjuster within the sights and can easily be flipped back down just to the regular sights. Honestly, to me, they just look ugly, but they do still work very well for the rifle. However, iron sights aren't the only choice of optics for this rifle, and you can instead equip yourself with this crazy long USMC sniper scope. And this scope is long. Like, really long. And this scope is actually very prominent among the Springfield rifles that were used by the Marine Corps in the beginning of World War II back in 1941. The scope goes by the name of the 8-power Unertal scope and sits at about 24 inches in length, which suited more long-range engagement compared to other Springfield scopes. And the scope on my model features some adjustment rings as well as some various small details, and was built using a bunch of these pieces as well as some tile pieces all around the entire scope. Also, the inside of the scope is very limited in space, so the reticle is just a small claw piece that sits in the middle of the scope. And unlike what most games would like to show off, this scope definitely cannot use a stripper clip, and instead would need to be loaded with individual rounds in order to reload the rifle properly. Besides that, the gun normally has scope mounts in place in order to mount this scope to the gun, but because this is only Lego, I could just easily click the scope into place and remove it as well, which makes it a very great attachment to have for a rifle such as this. When it comes to the bolt, it was something that I wanted to do similar to that of my Lee Enfield, but improve more along on the original design. It's easy enough to pull the bolt back and forth without the fear of it falling out of the gun thanks to the notch that's actually seen on top of the bolt. And unfortunately, in the back, it does feature a safety system which, well, doesn't actually work on my model, but the bolt does now work in favor of the stripper clip with its design and use, which I have actually never done with any of my older guns. And right here we have this clip that was actually designed by a fan of mine by the name of Campbell Baird, where he shared his design with me via my Facebook page, and his very simple but ingenious design was specifically built to extract the type of bullets that I use now for my latest guns and pushes them into the magazine of the rifle fairly well. And the reason I say fairly well is just because even though the stripper clip design works in concept, in actual practice, it does have a tendency of either working perfectly or just not at all. And I still do personally prefer loading each round individually into the weapon over the clip, just because it's easier to load this way. And also, when the gun is loaded with all 5 rounds, the magazine will actually hold 4 of those rounds, and the bolt, when it pushes forward, will actually chamber the last remaining round that sits on top. And finally, I even created a system where you can easily remove all the loaded rounds just by simply pinching the magazine area and pulling out this block piece, which almost effectively removes all the rounds that are loaded into the gun. I think it's pretty easy to say that the bolt action on this weapon is definitely one of the most defining aspects of the whole gun in general. But did you know that there actually is a different type of system that exists for the rifle, and that is this little contraption right here that is more or less commonly known as the Pedersen device. So, the Pedersen device was the secret device developed back in 1918 and was built to change out the original bolt action system of the Springfield and the 30-06 ammo with a semi-automatic 30 caliber system instead. And surprisingly, switching out these systems is actually not all that difficult in-game. However, on my model, this device would actually have to be attached after lifting the lever along the side of the rifle and then removing the original bolt and simply inserting the device back into place and then flipping the switch back down. It's a very sleek and small design that looks really good on its own. However, when it comes to the magazine, it's a completely different story. It's insanely long, but has a very interesting design along the sides, and in order for the mag to attach to the actual device, the bullet itself needs to be removed in order to properly connect the pieces together. With the magazine attached, it feels kinda awkward to hold, but retains a nice solid connection to the device. And as well, this device was also made to accommodate for the sights of the rifle, where not only does the mag slant out of the way not to block the sights, but so does the charging block. Also, along the side of the wall for the rifle, there is actually a cutout that is made for the Pedersen device in mind, where when the weapon is fired, the shells actually have an opening to extract all the spent casings that are made. And lastly, I thought it would be fun to combine both of these attachments together, which, to my surprise, actually don't get in the way of one another and can both be used properly. I'm just not sure if this combination would work, however, just because of the fact that the scope, more than likely, is not sighted for 30 cal ammunition whatsoever. But anyway, in order to put the original bolt back on the rifle, just simply reverse the steps of the assembly one more time, and now, just like that, we are back to the regular bolt action 30-06. Overall, this weapon just feels so great to have built and finished in my hands, and to have built something as greatly informative as this rifle feels absolutely amazing to achieve, and this has really taken me a long time to bring this weapon to life, as well as when it came to the filming of it multiple times, and even having to go through a re-edit for it also. It was a lot of hard work, but all I can simply wish for now is that hopefully you guys have enjoyed this gun as well as the video. Also, if you guys are interested, I now have a Discord server where anyone who joins could come on by to discuss their LEGO building techniques, as well as even maybe getting the chance to play some games together, and the link for that is on screen right now, but is also in the description down below. As well, if you guys are interested in downloading the LDD files for this gun, link to the download is in the description also. Anyway, if you guys have enjoyed, definitely make sure to subscribe now to catch any of my LEGO creations that are made later in the future. Like, favorite, and comment if you guys have enjoyed, and, as always, thanks for watching!